Okay, hello everyone. Tonight we go back to during the weeknights studying the first American Weiyang patriarch, Master YongHua, my late Chinese teacher. We studied his we study his teachings during a Chanqi that he organized very early in the United States in the early 1970s. Okay, before we get started, so we continue where we left off. But before we get started, can we have a fashion show, please? Would you like a fashion show? No? No interest? If you're not interested in a fashion show, we can skip it. Now they're curious. We are true cultivators, we're also curious as well. So I guess some of you would like to go for a fashion show. Some of you are true cultivators, would prefer to study how to become enlightened. Decision. Okay, since the decision is unanimous, we do go for a fashion show. Okay, the fashion show, I'm sorry I spring this on you, but I bring this on everyone. Don't know what I ate today for lunch. The fashion show will be broadcasted from Korea, where they don't have a lockdown like us here in California. Okay, Xianan, sure, can you stand up, please, and get in front of the camera? Okay, this is I'd like to present to you our model for tonight. See, we're walking back and forth like a model, okay? Do you have your high heels on? Xianan? No? Oh, sorry. Last minute oversight. Apparently, Xianan here, our fearless Xianan, bought some latest Chinese changshan, long robes. That's for the winter, which in California, we never seen anything like this before. That's why I told you, I promised you a fashion show. So that's what you're gonna get, a fashion show. So, okay, first of all, do you have the photo of that thing from China? The Changshan from China that she sent us? Okay.
I don't think she only sent the...
See.
She can just show you right now.
Yeah. Okay, look at this. It is horribly cold in Korea right now. It's like -7 degrees Celsius. So this is what they have to wear, these poor people. Okay? I would not want to live in Korea. Okay, so look at that. It is quilted, huh? Yes. Quilted, yes. Is it made of wool, I imagine? Wool? No? Not wool, cotton? Oh, it is cashmere. Why didn't you get some wool clothing? It's a lot warmer. No wool clothing? Okay. Is this custom made or off the shelf? Off the shelf. Okay. Is it possible to order custom made? No? Okay. Well, anyway, so it's changshan. Okay. So it's very thick. We don't see those in California, in the US, okay? Quilted, okay? And is it warm? Very warm, okay? So you can walk outside. No? So what's the point in wearing that then? Yeah, they have audio, lack of audio over there. What?
Oh, it's warm enough to be indoor.
Just for indoors, I see.
Because Jewel Mountain Temple, some part of the temple is not heated.
I
A lot
see.
of parts of it is not heated.
But when you meditate, which I don't think you do, is it too hot? Is it too hot?
No, it's okay.
Okay, now
Not too-
walk a little bit back and forth, please.
걸어.
Okay, just pretend you're wearing high heels. No, raise the walk on your toes. There you go. Okay, very good. Okay, sit down. That's enough. God. Okay, thank you, very good. How much does it cost, by the way? Does it cost a fortune?
$136.
Dollars? That much?
$136.
$136. Wow, that's expensive.
Yeah.
For Chinese standards, yeah, it's very, very expensive. Yeah, they probably know it's the Koreans who are purchasing it. That's why. Well, congratulations, you've been ripped off by the Chinese, they said. Okay, back to business. Okay, thank you very much. How about a round of applause, please, for the fashion show? Oh, what? YouTube question? Yes, you can make a donation for that fashion show. Yeah, YouTube. Yeah, multi-screen. Okay, question from yesterday. Boring. Wait a minute. I don't want to talk business yet. Okay. We're coming to that. Why are we wearing Chinese? I'm trying to make a point. We're wearing Chinese to show gratitude to our Chinese masters and our Chinese ancestors. I mean the ancestors of the Dharma. Our Dharma came from a Chinese. Therefore, we need to be grateful to them. It's just like today, when we eat apples in the U.S., we're grateful to Johnny Appleseed, who a couple of centuries ago decided to go around the U.S. and spread the apple seeds. So now we have delicious apples and oranges as well. She says she's developing an allergy for apples since I've been torturing her so much. So now she's very, very hungry for oranges. Okay. Anyway, Martina is just too swift for me on her feet. Okay, so we have to be fair and be grateful to those people those Chinese masters who brought the Mahayana Dharma to the world. And we are the beneficiaries. And that's why when I wear this on, I sort of remind myself that this is a gift from China, and we need to be grateful. You don't have to become Chinese, by the way. You just need to be grateful. Okay? That's important. That's part of our practice, is to be grateful to those who are good to us. All right? Number two, also has to do with the fact that as tonight, we will go into it later on tonight, there is a time in China, history of Buddhism in China, where Buddhism was so prosperous, was so widely practiced. That was during the Tang Dynasty. That's the golden era, of Chinese Buddhism, where they produced so many great and eminent monks. Great meaning they are superior individuals, eminent because they're recognized. Okay? For example, my late Chinese master is great, but I don't think he's eminent. He's not that well recognized. Okay? So that's a difference. Back then, they revere and worship these great Chinese monks. One of them is Master Lingyou, okay, the founder of our Weiyang Chan school. So you see, the point I'm trying to make is that we try to keep a lot of the teachings in Chinese, the original teachings that we know of in Chinese, so that to remind you that the depth of Mahayana is still contained in the Chinese language, not in English. Okay? The translation is, at best, not 100%. Okay? Far less, depending on the Dharma. Some advanced Dharmas in Weiyang lineage, forget it. There's no translation. That's good enough for it. Okay? So that's a reminder to you that if you want to master the Mahayana teachings, you need to go back to the Chinese source. You need to learn Chinese. Okay? That's I often remind all of you of that. If they are the greatest teachers of our times, so take advantage of it. All right? They look at me like we look at the boy, who runs around here. Okay. So their wisdom is incredible, and it's expressed and recorded in Chinese. Therefore, I don't care who you are. If you want to learn from the best, go back to the Chinese texts. It's well worth it, in my humble opinion. Okay? Point number 3. The fact is that those were the great teachers from the past. Nowadays, the teachers are no longer in China. This is for your reference. Okay? What happens to great teachers is that they need to find great students. Just like Master Wei Shan, he found a great pupil in Master Yang Shan, so that his wisdom was passed on to the next generation. This is what happens. Great masters have to look for great students. Okay? So that's why, and this is not a criticism, this is a fact. That's why my late Chinese master had to move from China to the US, because the great students in my generation are found in the US. So he had to go to US. He tried everywhere. He went to Hong Kong, he went to Australia, nothing worked. okay? And the stays are very short durations. And then he had to move to the U.S., and he came here and meditated and practiced, quietly in an apartment in a basement somewhere in Chinatown, San Francisco, 6 years. Okay, and then he stayed on because he knew that so he was waiting for his great students to come, to mature, to have the chance to get ready to receive the teaching. That's what's fascinating about Mahayana. Yeah? We have to nurture the students and wait for the students so that we can pass on the knowledge. Okay? So it's important to know, because if people want to learn about Mahayana, okay, the highest level of Mahayana that's transmitted from a patriarch to the next generation, it has to be in the U.S. It's nowhere else. He then further made the prediction. He says, I had to come to the U.S. to bring Mahayana to the West. But in the future, Mahayana will be sent all over the world, including back to China. Okay? So we all have to be mindful of that prediction. That's why my generation is too late. I'm too old and too stupid. But I'm hoping in your generation, if you're serious about your career and you find in your heart to want to do to benefit more living beings like our founder, Master Wei Shan, okay, then please learn Chinese. Please learn from these great teachers in Chinese, so that when then you can surpass us. Okay, if you want to surpass me and surpass my master, you have to learn from these great monks. I'm telling you this right now. Master Hsuan level is not as high as Master Wei Shan. Period. Okay, but my generation is too low. So if you need the level of Master Wei Shan, we won't be able to receive it, unfortunately. You got my point? So they only decided to send Master Hsuan to bring it over here because they only needed Master Hsuan to transmit, to move the Dharma to the West. And the recipients in the West, because of lack of infrastructure, right? Before you can build a great economy, you need to build the infrastructure. So we didn't have, in the U.S. and my generation, we don't have the infrastructure yet. We don't have the bridges, we don't have the temples, we don't have the support from the people. So that's why Master Hsuan, he came here and he built the infrastructure. He bought lands, he bought properties. That's infrastructure right there. And I have my big mouth, I criticize it, but it's part of building infrastructure. Okay? And the next infrastructure is people who understand the Dharma. Okay? So that's why in my generation, we're too low level. That's why we don't need a lot of infrastructure. But as we'll get better, I promise you. And I'm showing you how to get better by going back to the great teachers, eminent teachers. Because we're limited. My generation is limited. I admit it to you. We're limited because we're not worthy Dharma vessels. We're not good enough. Period. Okay? But we don't need to be that good enough because we're good enough to be able to continue, but we need to pave the way for next generations to be better than us. That's how I look at it. Okay? And I challenge you, third generation of Wei Yang lineage of Mahayana, to want to surpass us. And it's a lot harder than it looks. But it's possible, okay? In the sudden teaching, anything is possible. No lead is safe. Okay? Because I just told you, Master YongHua, my teacher's level is lower than Master Weishan, period. No two ways about it, okay? So if you want to surpass me, surpass my master, learn from Master Weishan. This is why we're doing this. You see this? I'm thinking very long term. You may not be able to understand. It sounds very simple, but actually it's very profound teaching. So far, so good? That's why we have a fashion show tonight, so that you remember. Go back to the Chinese. They have a wealth of treasure right there that they are neglecting. Okay? To the point where my generation, the Chinese, cannot receive it anymore. Okay? So I'm hoping your generation, Americans are a melting pot. We are yellow, we are black, we are red, we are, I don't know, gotta mention white, unfortunately, okay? But this is why the infrastructure is here, because America is not necessarily Republican, I mean white. Okay? Sorry, I had to throw jokes at, I know it hurts to some of you Republicans, voters. I'm shocked at how you could, many of you would vote for. Anyway, we won, didn't we? Just kidding. Some people are still very sore about it, and it's funny. Is that something like sore, losing people? I'm kidding. Oh my God, you guys are so serious. Okay. So, America is not necessarily Caucasian, it's not necessarily yellow, not necessarily whatever. America is whoever is capable of rising to the top. That's our culture. Okay? So I hope that we continue. Oh, now, okay. Any questions so far tonight? Questions from yesterday refers to the 6th Patriarch Sutra. Can we postpone that until next weekend? Because if I explain everything, then we can't learn about this great teacher, Master Weishan. What do you think? It should be, we field those questions from last night next Sunday. Okay? Fair enough? Okay, let's continue with our programs. Let's learn about this great monk. Okay? Should be interesting. Questions or comments? Okay. So to remind you, because we walked away from here and we have some new people here, we started listening to the story of Master Ling Yo, which is later known as Master Weishan, the founder of our Weiyang school, lineage. So he's our Chinese ancestor, Dharma ancestors, and so he's extraordinary. His life story very early on shows that he's a special individual destined to do great things for Buddhism and for all living beings. Okay, and so along the way there are plenty of signs and manifestation to show this man here is not an ordinary person. Okay, and so he's playing with his friends in terms of, instead of playing video games, they were playing, bowing to the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas. Okay, and then while they were playing like that, and then an old man appeared from nowhere and stood there and made this prediction. He says, remember the Buddha too? Same thing with the Buddha. The sages made predictions about the Buddha's future. Same thing with this monk. This boy here, he said in the future, he only has one path. He'll become a great monk, eminent monk, and then he'll save and assist and comfort all beings. Okay? So, as I said the last time, that message was designed, was directed at his parents so that they would not do anything to hinder the child's development. So far, so good? That's all where we are. Because as typical, parents are, for these prodigies, the parents are much lower level than the children. So that's why they have to be reminded not to get in the way. Okay? Yeah. Let's continue, please. Thank you.
"丈序诸子，这不是给丈记啊，这一切的众生诸子，也就是众生。
Assist and comfort all beings is to offer and aid all sentient beings. All beings is also all sentient beings."
Okay? The word here that interests me is comfort. This is what monks do. We're not supposed to be on a pedestal. And for you to come and worship and make offerings and of cars and phones. Somehow iPhone comes to mind. or whatever, okay? No, we don't need those. I'm telling you, we don't need to be on a pedestal. We're not here to receive the offerings. We're here to work. We're here to assist you and comfort you. So the word comfort here interests me because why do you need comfort? Because you're suffering a lot more than you're willing to admit. The only time you come to the temple is when you seeking comfort and you refuse to admit it. You would not want to admit it. So we're glad to see that because don't wait until you break down and you come to the temple and you say, okay, help, save me. Okay, we'd rather you come so that we can comfort you, so that you can go back to your own life, your own family, your work, and re-energized, right? So you need some relief. That's what Mahayana monks and nuns are supposed to do. Okay? I just don't like the concept of you going to the temple, because I never received it, and to worship us Sanghas as if it's like your duties to service. It doesn't work like that to me. Okay? With me, we earn our way every day. Okay? We're here to work. We're here to assist you and to comfort you. Okay? That's the prediction from that old man. He says, this is what this great monk, okay, this future great monk will be doing. And so don't Don't forget that. This is the manifesto, if you will, Wei-Yang Lineage Manifesto. It says, we assist and comfort living beings without proclaiming that. All right? Next, please.
他也不明白，他就一边走路就一边念这几句。
So that's Ling-Yo, right? Ling-Yo didn't understand this. Okay.
He didn't understand. Then he just walked while reciting these sentences.
千山万水，玉坛栽植，得无价宝，仗济诸子。
Passing numerous mountains and rivers, stop once you encounter the deep pond. You will attain priceless treasure, assist and comfort all beings.
And now it dawned on me why they have used these verses to tell them. You understand why they have to use verses back those times? Huh? What? No! It's too Taiwanese. Why? Orange.
Is it because it's easy to memorize, to...
No, too Chinese. Who else? I bet the Vietnamese know, because it's a Vietnamese thing. Okay, Vietnamese, speak up. Show your true colors. It's very Vietnamese. Come on, Kung Fu girl. Huh? It's so obvious. It's not to you, right? For me, a Vietnamese guy, when I ask for direction, you know what they tell me? He said, you want to go there? Very easy. Go straight. Okay. On the third street light, turn right. And then count 4 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then turn left and count number of trees. After tree number 5, that's a house right there to your left. That's a Vietnamese GPS. You know what I'm talking about, Vietnamese people? And I've been living among the white people. So I went to the Vietnamese community and asked, like, do you know how I can get to this? And they gave me the instruction. I got lost. I couldn't count. I forgot to count street light. He said, how many was that? So that's GPS. This is GPS back then. Make sense to you now? It used to bother me. I listened. I said, why can't he say, like 10 miles or something? Back then, there's no such a thing. There's no street names. There's no street lights. Trees, we don't know whether they're going to be there or not. Okay? Does it make sense to you now? It's so logical. You have to be. Even the Chinese forgot it. That's why the Vietnamese have the key to a lot of Chinese teachings. Okay, move on, please.
等走疲倦了，他就坐在那个地方打坐，打坐也想这几句话，什么道理呢？
He walked until he was tired. Then he sat there to meditate and also to think about the meaning of these sentences.
What does this mean?
什么意思？
It's called contemplating the verses. What is that? Chan meditation. See how he was formed? He was trained to do Chan meditation with a riddle. It's so beautiful, it's so Chinese. Go on. So delightful, now, when the last year we went to this section, right, we didn't notice these things, right? Isn't that right, Xian Hui? Last summer or whatever. Huh? So speaking of summer, I said like in the summer, like I noticed some of you who I just talked to last summer, and I see how you making leaps and bounds, making progress with leaps and bounds. Is that you, the same person? It's a fascinating how you guys are just progressing as easy as I don't know, going skating.
山万水，玉坛栽植，得无价宝藏，丈须诸子。
Passing numerous mountains and rivers, stop once you encounter the deep pond. You will attain priceless treasure, assist and comfort all beings.
So in a clever way, it's called contemplation because you don't understand the meaning, right? So that's why you need to keep on thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it. That's a contemplation Dharma right there. All right? YouTube has a question. Go ahead.
Altadi asks, Master, so is that sort of thinking okay to do? It's not considered a false thought if we are contemplating the verses?
It's similar. Altadi, I haven't taught you the Huatou yet, but the Huatou is a similar concept. The Master give you a Huatou, okay? Some weird phrases that you don't understand. So what do? You keep on contemplating. You keep on, repeating that in your mind and say, I'd like to understand what this means. I wonder what it means. That's called contemplation, the Huatou. And the Chinese call it Can Huatou. Okay? That is, they keep on delving into it, drilling into the meaning of that, okay? By contemplating. Okay? That's a Chinese Huatou Dharma right there that I learned. Okay? This process is similar because this boy here didn't know what it meant. The young man here didn't know what it meant. So he's actually a Can Huatou. This is Huatou. This is a Can Gungan. Okay? You now contemplating this koan. Okay? It's not a false thought. It is actually contemplation. It's called contemplation. It's different from a false thought. In what way? That's a good question, Altadi. What's the difference between a contemplation and a false thought? A false thought is chaos in your mind. Right? You have zero control over it. Whereas a contemplation is you keep on going back to the same thing out of curiosity. There's no chaos in there. You keep going back to it until you pierce through the mountain. You drill through the mountain, drill through the rocks. Okay? That's contemplation. Because it bothers you that you don't understand what it means. Whereas false thought is you just, I'd like to have some apples. Oh, no, Master is giving me a hard time. I'm going to have oranges for the heck of it. Okay? That's false thinking, right? But to stop it, the 话头 is different. You go back and say, what does it mean? I wonder what it means. Why did he tell me so? Okay, there's that drive right there, this desire to know what it means. That's the driving force behind the 话头. What does it mean? What does this verse mean? Huh? Next.
咱们走一边走一边参这几句话，他就到了果清寺。
Then he walked like this, walked while investigating these sentences, and arrived at Guoqing Temple.
You see, arrived there in no time. That's the meaning of this section. He says he just contemplated and walked, contemplated and walked. He forgot about how long he had to walk. He forgot about the pain in the legs, the ache in the muscles, and the hunger and the thirst, and the heat and the cold. See that? That's what it means. Not bothered by all the difficulties. It's beautiful. Just like when you meditate, you eventually, first today you start feeling cold, around your nose, your throat, and then eventually you got warmer and you forget about the cold. Okay. Go on.
到果清寺又遇到一个奇怪的人，这是谁呢？师德。他就告诉那个。
Here.
Didn't hear anything. It was not on.
He arrived at Guoqing Temple and met another strange person. Who was that? Shi De. He met Shi De.
师德说是他遇到怎么样一个人，这个人告诉他。
He then told Shi De that he met such and such a person. This person told him,
千山万水，玉坛载纸，得无价宝，丈许诸子。
passing numerous mountains and rivers, stop once you encounter the deep pond. You will attain priceless treasure, assist and comfort all beings.
他也不明白这个意思。咱们师德说哦。
But he didn't understand the meaning. Then Shi De said,
你不明白这意思，你慢慢就明白了。你现在就在这修行了。他就在这。
Oh, you don't understand this meaning. Eventually you would get it. Now you just cultivate here. Just apply effort.
参禅习定，和这个师德也非常的有缘，天天呢在一起。
Thus he stayed there to investigate Chan and practice samadhi. He had very good affinity with Shi De. They were together every day.
在一起以后，他听说这个百丈禅师在洪州大凶山那个地方
Then, after staying together, he heard about this Chan master Bai Zhang at Hongzhou. Mount Xiangshan means great hero.
Hongyang 这个潮汐的正脉之后，他在这个时候就到这个百丈禅师那个会下。
Master Bai Zhang was propagating this Chaoxi's orthodox lineage. Then at that time, he went under Chan Master Bai Zhang's assembly.
Okay, who is Shu De? Anyone knows? Anyone remembers? The name is kind of not very monk-like. You don't want to name, if your master names you Shu De, I mean, you might as well return to lay life. Okay? Because he's basically calling you, you were a reject, I picked you up. You were someone else's reject, like your wife's reject, and I had to pick you up. Or your daughter's reject. So the name is not very, very comforting. I would, and he actually turns out he's either universal worthy bodhisattva transformation body or Manjushri. Those two people, these two great bodhisattvas, often appear in temples under those names. Okay, so it's well known in the Chinese Buddhism back then. Now that we know, back then they didn't realize it. But actually, these are great bodhisattvas, and they are actually lowlifes in the temples. Okay, they basically are slaves or do the dirty jobs and the unwanted jobs. That's what they did. Okay. Because the Chinese monks back then were too busy cultivating. So Shu De here. So the point here is that it's interesting, like I remember vaguely Shu De is one of the monks who looks very, very unkempt, dirty looking clothes are not, good looking. They're not even quilted, as far as I can remember, and not the kind you want to do a fashion show with. And surprisingly, this young monk by the name of Ling Yo took a liking to him, had affinity with this dirty-looking monk and this flunky monk in a temple. And what did he do? He hung around with this low-life monk, if you will, while learning. When he went and learned how to do meditation, and then he spends a lot of time with Shu De. And that's a clue right there. What is it telling you? The real training is with Shu De, not Go Ching. It's not the other monks. It's with that low-life monk, if you will. And somehow this low-life monk fascinated the young Ling Yo enough to keep on coming and spending time with him. And that's a case where typically, you go, when you learn, okay, a good part of your learning is from your peers. Think about it. So that's why you go to great institutions, okay, quite often the students actually are better than the professors. They just need to show up for certification. Yes or no? I was a lot more terrified of my peers than of my professors. My peers were geniuses. Look at the professors. Oh, you missed this point here, professor. Look at, you're right. A plus. So Master Ling Yo, young Ling Yo, learned from Shuta at Goqing Temple. And when the time came, he said, "Oh, it's time for you to move on and learn from Bai Chang." Okay. So deceptively, Shuta gave prepare Ling Yo, Master Ling Yo, for Master Bai Chang. So that was to prove that these great monks became great not by coincidence. They are actually pushed, gently nudged in that direction. See that? All right. YouTube has a question.
Yes, LTD asks if this is the same story as Last Chanchi, where the master was taught by the Bodhisattva when he was a young kid.
Who? Which master?
Nobody knows, so that's why
Master
he's asking.
Which name is that? Chinese name or whatever? I cannot recognize the name. Yeah, Master YongHua was taught by the 6th Bei chart when he was 6 or 7 years old. Among which the 6th Bei chart transmitted one or a few hands and eyes to Master YongHua and told him to practice it as a boy already. That's what he said. Right? Continue.
跪下，也就是他法座之下。一到这儿呢，这个百丈禅师就对他特别好。
Under the assembly means under his Dharma seat. Once arrived here, this Chan master Bai Zhang was really nice to him.
是叫他做什么呢？做点坐。什么叫点坐呢？
What did he ask him to do? He asked him to be 点坐. What is 点坐?
点坐就是每一天呢，叫这个厨师做什么菜，做什么饭。
点坐 tells the chef what dishes and meals to cook every day.
今天有20个人，他给他20碗米。
For example, today there are 20 people, then he will give him 20 bowls of rice.
有30个人，他给他30碗米，叫他预备什么菜。今天
There are 30 people. He will give him 30 bowls of rice and tell him what dishes to prepare.
有人来没有人来人多人少，这都由点座来指挥这个做饭的，这叫点座。
Today, somebody came or nobody came. More people came or less people came. The 点座 directs the chef. This is called 点座.
你看那个做饭的呢，就叫饭头；烧火的呢，就叫火头。
You see, the one who cooks meal is called rice head. The one who tends the fire is called fire head.
煲茶的呢叫水头，这都有个头。
The one who makes tea is called water head. They all have a head.
他就是做点座，这个点座呢，就是管着这些个头的，这些个头都要归他管。
Then he worked as 点座. This 点座 is to manage these heads. These heads were all managed by him.
那么有的时候这火头要懒了，他就去帮着烧火。
Then sometimes, if this fire head was lazy, he would go help tendering the fire.
有的时候这水头要是不做工了、罢工了，他就去做水头。
If sometimes this water head was not working, on strike, he would be the water head.
饭头要是没睡醒觉呢，他就帮他做饭。
If the rice head didn't wake up from sleeping, he would help him cook the meal.
所以呀，他做这些工作因为做火头要烧火，他就拨火一拨这火就开悟了。
So he did this work. Because the fire head needs to tender the fire, then he would prod the fire. Oh, once prodding fire, he suddenly enlightened.
Okay, so this young monk here received training from Shuta, primarily, and then was encouraged to join Master Bai Chang. Bai Chang, Master Bai Chang is famous in Chinese Chan folklore, Chan lineage, Chan school, in the fact that he is the first one to postulate, to formulate the structure of Chan monasteries. Because of Master Bai Chang, he basically invented the rules of the Chan monasteries, that later the other temples would duplicate that and set up these Chan centers, Chan monasteries, big Chan monasteries. So it's very detailed. His instructions are like a few hundred pages, detailing virtually every single aspect of the temple's activities. How to request the Dharma, and after the master spoke, then what are you supposed to do, and so forth. It's extremely detailed, to the point where, for an example which may be relevant to us, if memory still serves me well, is that he says, basically, we don't, you teach, or don't charge money, okay? There's no money in teaching people. The only time when you charge people is when they need help. in the sense that they said, I need you to pray for me or to do a ceremony for me to assist my ancestors and so forth. And they would go around, they come back and say, okay, let me see. They check that we have went back to a checklist and say, okay, for this we need 40 incense sticks and there's so much rice and so forth. They add it up and they said, this is what you have to pay. Okay, that's the Chinese Chan monasteries. And that's later on in Mahayana and the Mahayana Chan monasteries, they stick to that structure. Okay, training is free. Clothing, food, and everything else is free. Okay, for the sanghas. Okay, you don't have to pay rent, and you don't have to worry about paying for your meals. Okay, and so all the support came from offerings from lay people, and then in particular, there's another case where they actually come to the temple asking for specific assistance. Okay, so that's what the structure of Chan monasteries. Can you see that now? You see how the evolution is. So that's why it shouldn't be a surprise to you that when Master Lingyou, young Lingyou, went over to Baichang, he has the skills already. Because Shu Te gave him the foundation, gave him the techniques. And he was improving under Shu Te's tutelage. Okay? And then, so he has wisdom. So one look at him, Master Baichang said, you have samadhi power. So I tell you what, back there, they didn't recognize you. Okay? That's why they let you hang around with Shu Te. But I recognize your level. So I put you as a manager of a bunch of people of a whole chaotic environment. Kitchen manager manages a very chaotic environment. And it takes samadhi power. It takes authority. Okay? Even though that young Lingyou had no training before, he can learn on the job that quickly because of samadhi power. He's unflustered by problems, by crises. Whereas if you're trained professionally as a chef, the crises will overwhelm you. You will cease to function. And that's, you understand now our tradition? We hone our Chan skills first, then go, like Master Lingyou, go to the kitchen, go to chaos, go to anarchy, and learn how to solve these problems. So eventually, young Lingyou learned how to cook, learned how to make tea, which he never learned before. No one ever taught him. He had to learn because he has to be the backup person for the water head, the water leader, the fire leader, the rice leader, and so forth. So he learned to cook. See that? So now, young Lingyou went over to Master Baichang to learn how to build a monastery. Isn't that beautiful? The development of a great Chan monk that we're witnessing. And it sets up all these precedents for us, future generations. Okay? That Shu Te showed them. Samadhi. Then you go samadhi. And then develop horizontally. Water, rice, people, so forth. For a young man, it's not easy to do. Okay? Never worked with people before. Okay? Never worked with chef before. They're not easy to work with, you know that. Extremely moody. Okay? So, interesting, that's a training right there of Master Lingyou. What do we do nowadays? We learn all the skills first, right? How to cook, how to add, how to all these skills. And when we need to grow, what do? The skills are the tethers, keep us down on the earth, like the tethers of a helium balloon. That's how worldly training is an impediment to your spiritual development. That's why I tell all of you, you come to our temples, our tradition, all your worldly skills amount to what? No beans. Okay? Yeah. Because they cannot in any way tether you down. You may be famous, you may be well recognized out there and so forth. When you come here, you start from zero. You are zero. Eventually, until you understand what zero means. Yes, you come in here and you say, I'm cool. I'm recognized. I have degrees. I have education. I have success. Track record. And guess what? You get to hang around with shooter. You get to be abused. Because you have to know how zero feels like in a superior environment, among superior people, because not anyone can survive. Being a zero amongst superior individuals. They run away because these people are so evil, so nasty. That's why they're here. The more nasty they are, the bigger they'll develop. We lost that tradition nowadays, don't you think? Now you walk in, you walked in a temple, so glad you came, glad you came, so happy to have you, and so forth. If not, you say, this temple, they have no manners. They don't recognize, talent, superior people. Because you're expecting a worldly recognition, you're expecting a worldly, and then you're at the wrong places. Because we are here to develop our spiritual life, our spirituality, our superior human, our superior Buddha spirituality that you all possess, and we need to hone it for you. Okay? To work on it, help you work on it. Not worldly things. Worldly things is not where the temple excels at doing. Worldly things, please go to universities. Please go to great companies where they train you and teach you. Here, okay, it's your spiritual life. Your soul, your excellence. So pay attention, because it didn't happen haphazardly. It happened with these great monks. And they say, looking back, that's how I got here. Okay? And I went through these twists and turns to be trained that way. Okay? Questions and comments. Time is up. No questions? Okay, then I'm pretty sure you're looking forward to meditating again. Continue your meditation. Okay, we stop here tonight. Thank you all. Okay.